is an agronomical engineer, is currently a researcher's PhD candidate at IMIDRA, which is the Madrid Institute for Rural, Agrarian and Alimentary R&D. Basically, I'm trying to translate it on the go, but it's something like that. And he is also a board member at the Youth Alliance for Zero Hunger. And we have Mike, as I mentioned earlier, who is the vice chair of the UN Food System Summit Action Track 5, nutrition advocate, and a youth leader for nutrition. So welcome to both of you, and the floor is yours. I don't know who would like to speak. Maybe, well, on my screen, Mike is before, so maybe we can start with Mike.
All right, so thanks so much for this wonderful meeting and for me being hosted. I really appreciate to be part of the amazing discussion that is happening. And I really like how my previous speaker, Listen, really articulated the power of young people getting on board in terms of food system transformation and what actually we need globally and even nationally. So I was highly involved in the UN Food System Summit as a co-leader for Action Track 5, which we are actually focusing on how we can build food system resilience to vulnerabilities, shocks, and stress, much particularly looking fragile and conflict zones. So we drew a number of solutions, particularly on human development peace nexus, climate resilience pathways, and even talking about local food production and local resilience. And much on this, the emphasis was an example from the indigenous community. We know there are 467 million indigenous communities living in 9 countries, and most of them, they have been able to produce using their own food systems, their own local ways, but at the same time, maintaining and conserving the climate. But how much have we engaged them in the global dialogues or in the global discussion when it comes to food systems? So on local production, local consumption, these were some of the solutions that we really developed from Action Track 5. And also as youth in general, especially in UN Food System Summits, we were given platforms as youth champions and even as youth heroes. So we kind of leveraged on these platforms to engage various youth across the world to be able to even have their own views being heard during the UN Food System Summit. So for instance, the youth heroes were able to organize dialogues themselves. The champions were also able to engage various youth from their own local networks who could be able to contribute to food system food system change. And particularly, we also have a youth-led movement, Act for Food, Act for Change, which was launched in should be 18th May. So it was also in support of UN Food System Summits. And I'm pleased to mention that within a very short period of time, the movement, actually the Act for Food, has reached out to more than 100,000 pledges. So more than 100,000 people have signed for the pledge. And the pledge, in simple terms, it actually urges young people, business stakeholders, government, and UN agencies to work together to transform food systems. You sign the pledge, that means you acknowledge that our food systems are not sustainable, and we would really like to all different players to come together and work in order to transform food systems. The actions for change in the other aspect are 17 list of actions which young people brought together. Like these are our actions which we think will be key to transform food systems. And we'll also be working with governments, UN agencies, and us and our fellow young people to really transform our food system through the list of actions that we have come on. So the movement is still growing, and we have 30 youth leaders who are part of the Act for Food, Act for Change, and we are almost more than 200 advocates across the world who are willing to be part of the movement and who will be working in different countries to really work on the actions for change that I've highlighted. So for the youth themselves, we also had our global youth priorities, which we presented during the summit. And we also had the commitments which were coming from young people. So we were quite engaged during the UN Food System Summit. And I look forward to further engagement when it comes to other global avenues, especially if you want youth views to be ahead. So maybe I can really stop here and give the rest of the time to my colleague. Sure.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Thank you for all this information, and for all of you wondering, you can still go to Act for Food, Act for Change website and have a look at all the different proposition and what came out of it. Mario, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I think he gave a good background on what the food system summit has been related to youth engagement, and as well listen for about the World Food Forum. I will try to complement what Maya said about the food system summit, about the youth moment that we're having right now, right, high-level policy making spaces. When we started the Youth Alliance about 2 years and a half ago, there wasn't any kind of movement trying to agglomerate youth. And right now we can see all this global movement, the Act for Food Change initiative, and others. You can see there is like great momentum for young to get involved in the high-level policy making spaces, or even in the local policy making spaces of agriculture. So I guess like my main message to youth is like taking advantage of this moment, of what is gonna come in the following years. About there's gonna be a lot of opportunities for youth engagement in all levels. I know there is like gonna be towns that are gonna push for youth engagement. There are gonna be governments. I think the idea of the Youth Work Day National Chapter is a great initiative, and I hope like the Netherlands are pioneers in this, but I'm pretty sure other countries will follow this initiative. And there's gonna be a lot of spaces for youth. I think right now we make possible that policymakers and other stakeholders relevant to like they acknowledge the importance of youth and why youth is necessary, why youth has to be to the table, and how it's not going to be possible to build sustainable system without the proper engagement of youth. But also I think there is we still just don't know how effectively engage youth. I think in the World Food Forum is a great initiative, and it provides youth engagement in these spaces. So we're all the food system summit highlight the action track has highlighted important youth. I think that's what we work in these following years.
We've lost you a little bit, Mario. We can't really hear you. I don't know if you. It's a little bit better.
Can you hear me now? Maybe?
Yeah, it's still cutting a little bit, but we can understand.
Okay, yeah, sure. I just was saying like we have acknowledged like youth is necessary. Now we are working on how to institutionalize these youth voices in these policy making spaces. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of opportunities for youth to engage at the local levels and the national levels and the international levels, because policymakers are acknowledging the importance of youth in the table. The Committee of World Food Security is preparing their report on youth engagement and employment in the food system, and over this year it's going to translate in guidelines for policymakers. So I hope you can hear me well when this technical issue. I'll pass back the floor to Mike if he wants to complement.
Thank you, Mario. So what I understood from what you said is that this movement is quite recent. There is a lot of momentum and there are a lot of opportunities to come for youth to get engaged, a lot of events, a lot of ways to make the voices heard. And yeah, Mike, you told us about the importance in the work that you did of the local stage. And I don't know if you would like to comment on also maybe particularly how young people are getting engaged at the local scale, and why is it so important that they are here, not only trying to influence the policy making high stage, but also locally?
Oh, thanks so much for the question. So I really like the idea that much as we can make a global effort, but also need to really look at the country specific effort. Because look at the way the Food System Summit came about. All these solutions, all this work that all the action track, all the science team, all the levers of the UN food system that we are working on developing these solutions. Right now, they are in the hands of countries to do the work, which means we might have a lot of influence at global level. But maybe if you can also really think of how we can influence our own countries at national level, at local level, that would be very key in terms of food system. So for instance, from my own experience, the way I've worked with young people in Malawi in the rural communities, I saw a lot of great potential. For instance, I started a very small project in one of the rural communities in Malawi, whereby I was just training the young people to really know about nutrition, to really know about food security. And that was it. There wasn't much in terms of giving them resources, giving them money, nothing like that. I just impacted them in terms of the knowledge and so that they should be champions of their community. Just few months down the line, we were able to showcase the same training to the communities, and the communities were able to listen to the youth. The communities wouldn't be able to listen to me because I'm not from that community, but I was just able to engage very few youth from that community, and they were able to take the same message and even help the community to reduce the challenges of migration, because they developed backyard gardens, they did. So this could be one of the very simple examples that I can give in terms of how the youth can be drivers of change. The youth can be pillars in terms of how transforming our own food systems. And when it comes to engaging the local communities, in most of the national or even global level dialogues, these people are not quite aware of what is happening. They don't have internet access. They don't have technology for them to connect what is happening globally. But if you reach out to them, for instance, through the dialogues that I did, going to the community, having a dialogue on food system in their own local language, and ensuring that everyone, including the youth, women farmers, chiefs, the councillors, and everyone is on board and is able to contribute. This, I remember on one occasion, these people were able to go to the district council, to the district commissioners to present their issues when it comes to food system transformation. So that's how probably a simple thing, a novel day, drive change, especially when you reach out to the most vulnerable communities. Thank you. Over to you, Gabriel.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Thank you, Mario. Thanks both. I think it's really valuable what you just said about you don't need to know the whole global situation to start and act locally and do things that matter to you. Xander, you joined us. Would you like to add something maybe on the topic we've just been discussing?
Yeah, thanks very much, Gabriel, and great to see you guys and hear this wonderful discussion. And what I would like to add, and this is you don't see what's happening here in Ede, but in the Netherlands. But this, I think, actually adds to what you are saying. And what I would like to add is that I think there's a lot of movement on the policy arena, which hopefully the national chapter can support and amplify with World Food Forum. But what I notice here today, if you're going down to the local environment and where it's all happening in your relation with food or your contribution, your impact, it's also a lot about getting these different ways to connect with, in the end, these policy domains, but at first through forms of music, engagement, being busy with food, eating together, cooking together, films, etc., is so much empowering. And that's what I like about the World Food Forum as well, is that we create this funnel that it's not just policy engaged youth going through a national chapter into the policy arena, but there will be diversity and creativity from these different forms and this potential of youth that is not at first in this policy arena, that is going to contribute to these great elements at the tables in Rome, but also are being amplified and strengthened to be part of this in their own engagement in their areas. Because what I notice when I talk to Mike or to Mario and these beautiful arenas, I am able to inspire my surroundings of youth and young people because they know this is going on. So I would like to add that this is a sort of sub-effect, sub-harvest that we must not forget, that that's also happening next that we create nice policy papers, etc.